Hello, Blue Jays fans, and welcome to Sunny Side of the Dome. I'm your host, Karen Soutar, and I'm here for the next half hour or so to talk some Blue Jays baseball with you. Sunny Side of the Dome is brought to you by Jays from the Couch. We stream live Thursdays at 6 p.m., and you can find us on Jays from the Couch's YouTube channel, as well as our Facebook page or Twitter page. And if you are following along live tonight and you think of a question or comment, please do send them in. I love that interaction. I think it makes the show that much better. And if you're not catching the live version and you still want to see what I have to say about the Blue Jays, then that's great. When you're ready for us, we're ready for you. You can always catch the archive version on any one of those aforementioned medium, so Twitter, Facebook, or the YouTube channel. And if you like the content here at Sunny Side of the Dome, there's lots more where that came from. There's Jays from the Couch's main podcast. That's Monday evenings at 6 p.m. That's hosted by Sean Doyle, Jays from the Couch's founder, senior editor, and lots of fun stuff on there. Sean's always got lots of good things going. Other people on there usually to give their perspectives, and started some fun stuff, some fake news, some mock game shows just to keep everybody entertained. And if you don't catch the live version, that's also available as a radio podcast. So download that anywhere you get quality podcasts: Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, and the other YouTube show. And if you haven't been checking it out by now, I really hope you do. It's the On Circle. That's Tuesday evenings at 6 p.m., hosted by the Feckless Wonder, my crazy colleague, Steve Feck. And he's always got lots of interesting things to say. He's fun, funny, smart, knowledgeable, and a little bit out there sometimes. So definitely check that out. The On Circle, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Well, happy Thursday evening, Blue Jays fans. How's everybody doing? I bet you guys are doing really well. I know I certainly am. Lots of good stuff to talk about, and I'll get to that shortly. Speaking of things that are going on, so normally I start with the leading off is the transactions, but actually the transactions this week are also the heart of the order because of the very big news that if you care about the Blue Jays, I'm sure you've already heard about, but backtrack to that a bit. So other things that are going on this week are the after season awards, the Baseball Writers Association awards. So on Monday, we had the two Rookies of the Year, and Alec Manoa actually finished in 8th place. I didn't really expect him to win. He had a very good season. He came up a little bit late in the season, and he was very, very good for the most part, a little bit inconsistent. Kind of thought he might finish a little higher than 8th, but say la vie, that's where he finished. And then on Tuesdays, we saw the Managers of the Year. So Kevin Cash won in the American League. Not really a huge surprise. I mean, he led the Tampa Bay Rays to back-to-back playoffs, 100 wins in a division with 4 teams that won more than 90 games each. So congratulations to Kevin Cash. The Blue Jays' own Charlie Montoyo, he wasn't in the top 3 as a finalist this year. He actually finished 4th. So good for him. So some Blue Jays fans don't really like Montoyo. They don't like him as a manager. Personally, I think he's a better manager than a lot of people give him credit for. That's just my opinion. But maybe next year, Charlie, we'll see. And then last night, so far has been the biggest night for Blue Jays fans when the Cy Young Award winners were announced. And as many people expected, Robbie Ray won the American League Cy Young Award. It's his first career Cy Young Award. So congratulations, Robbie Ray. You had a fantastic season. Very, very deserving. He got 29 of 31st place votes. The other one, of course, went to Garrett Cole of the Yankees. And It was interesting watching Robbie Ray and the interviews that he gave afterward. He was speaking to Tim and Friends for a while on that show, and they talked to him. Of course, they tried to see if he would comment anything about his future and free agency, and he did say, love Toronto, but right now that he and his family were enjoying exploring free agency, being wined and dined, getting to know other organizations, and so forth. So, I mean, he's not really revealing anything at this point as far as what he's going to do. A lot of people actually seem to think he's got one foot out the door already. I really wouldn't assume that. I think that he's trying to keep his options open, probably wants the best deal that he can get for himself and his family, of course. I mean, this might be at the age of 30, I believe he is. If he gets a multi-year deal, this might be the contract that he gets for the rest of his life. So he wants a good deal, no doubt. And I still think there's a better than 50% chance that he ends up back with the Blue Jays. So we'll see. We'll see whenever he feels that he's tested the market enough and is ready to sign a deal with someone. Tonight, as everybody knows, is the Most Valuable Player Awards. I've been following the others very closely. Obviously, I'm not following this right now just because I'm doing this show. And if anybody is out there and you're watching me, well, you're watching me and not the MVP. No, seriously, if there's anybody out there that's watching live and you see the results of the American League MVP voting, and you want to send it in as a comment, feel free. Of course, I'm very interested in that, as all Blue Jays fans are. And excuse me for just a moment, water time. So yes, as everybody knows, the Blue Jays had two of the top three vote getters, so Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Marcus Semien. And, congratulations to Marcus Semien. He had a phenomenal season. I predicted a while ago in a piece that I did about him and what it might take to bring him back, that Marcus Semien would finish third in AL MVP voting. And that's what I think has happened and will be announced soon later on today. I would love to see Vladimir Guerrero Jr. win the AL MVP award. I mean, he had a phenomenal season. I don't really think he's going to win, which is too bad. I mean, full marks to Shohei Ohtani because he also had an outstanding season. Really, any one of them, and Semien even in another year, any one of the three would have been deserving to win the award. So we'll see what happens, and all the best to each one. Congratulations to whoever wins, and if it isn't Vlad this year, I think he's got some MVPs in his future. And it's going to be so great to have him here as a Blue Jay, hopefully long term, and see what he can do and all of that. So on to the heart of the order, which also covers the transactions as previously mentioned. So it was announced a couple of days ago, and then it became official, and there was a press conference today. So Jose Berrios, Steve, they're announcing NL MVP first. Of course they are. Thanks for that, Steve. Well, at least I won't miss the live announcement. So anyway, yeah, so Jose Berrios, the Blue Jays had him under team control through the end of next season. So as we all know, he was a Minnesota Twin, and with the Minnesota Twins not having a good season, they were open to trading him. And so the Blue Jays got him on trade deadline day, and it cost them two highly ranked prospects, Austin Martin and Simeon Richardson, excuse me. say that 5 times fast. I bet you can't. But yeah, I mean, all the best to the two prospects. I hope that they both go on to become all-stars for the Minnesota Twins and really help them do some good things in the future. But yeah, the Blue Jays got a frontline starter in Jose Berrios to try to help them get into the playoffs. this season. Of course, as we know, they fell short by one game, and they have him for all of next season. And the Blue Jays did what, I'll be honest, I didn't see them being able to do, that they actually signed him to a contract extension. He gave up the ability to be a free agent after next season, and he's now signed a 7-year contract to remain with the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, there is an opt-out. He's able to opt out after the 5th year of the contract. So, strictly speaking, he's committed to the Blue Jays for at least 5 seasons, and if he chooses not to opt out, then he'll be here for 7. And yeah, Matt Sweeby, the Berrios deal is backloaded, and I haven't seen Atkins do that before. Is that telling us anything? Thanks for the question, Matt, as always. Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I think one thing that it tells us, and I was going to get into the contract structure, so thank you for that lead in. So yes, and we're being joined by one of my cats. What else is new? Hello, you. Yes, I'm a little busy right now. Yes, so for 2022, so Berrios actually didn't have a contract for 2022. He was under team control and arbitration eligible, but without a contract. So he actually gets $15 million next season, so a $5 million signing bonus and $10 million salary. And then after that, it's $15 million, $17 million, $18 million for the next 2 seasons after that, for 2025 and 2026. And then 2027 and 2028, that's when it goes up to $24 million a season. So one thing that tells us, I think, is that it's leaving money on the table for the next 5 years anyway. That if the Jays want to go out and, I don't know, for example, sign Robbie Ray to a 5-year deal, that it's leaving money there, that they can still bring other guys on board and try to compete and try to win, and they're not jeopardizing the luxury tax or cash flow or whatever they're willing and able to spend. So yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very relevant point there, and it's worth looking at. So yes, Jose Berrios, what, from everything that we knew about him, everything that we found out from people that cover the Minnesota Twins, and even Shai Davidi, excuse my cat marbles, Shai Davidi even mentioned after the extension was announced that Jose Berrios had apparently told the Twins management that he really wanted to test free agency. And so they understood that he wouldn't be signing an extension with them. And then I guess they figured, okay, we're not gonna retain him, and we're not going to the playoffs this season, so we might as well get as much as we can for him. They were willing to trade him away to the Toronto Blue Jays, get a couple of prospects that hopefully for them will help them rebuild. And honestly, when I heard about those things, I really didn't think that the Blue Jays would be able to sign Jose Berrios to a contract extension. A lot of people were saying, oh yeah, that's got to be one of their highest priorities. And I was thinking, yeah, I'd love to see them do it, but I'm not sure that he's going to be willing to be able to do it. And then bringing him here to the Blue Jays, to the city, the team, the organization, everything about it, in the space of 2 months that he was there, he went from someone who was determined to test free agency to someone who was willing to sign a long-term contract extension. Now, it's not like he's getting peanuts. I mean, they're paying him $131 million. That's more money than most of us will ever see in our lifetimes. So he seems like a smart person, and he should be set for life financially for that. I really hope he will, and his family and his extended family, he can take care of everyone, and that's great. But realistically, if money were all that he cared about, and if he had stuck to his guns as far as testing free agency, in a year from now, he would have been one of the best free agent starting pitchers on the market, possibly even the best, if not one of the best, then certainly close to it. And he decided he was willing to forego that. They had the press conference today to formally announce the extension, and Ross Atkins was there, and Berrios himself was there. And oh my goodness, I mean, if you haven't watched it, watch it. Go catch the archive, the stream, whatever you need to do. He had so many positive things to say. I mean, you name it. He came here and he loved, not only the team, the ability to win with all the young talent, but the chemistry on the team, the players, the way that the players all treated each other and him, of course, that everybody really made him feel welcome. The players, the management, the city, the fans. I mean, he enjoyed being in Toronto. He even talked about, apparently he really loves food, and he's been out to some nice restaurants here, and he really liked that. He really likes the diversity of the city. He says that his family likes it. His wife spent some time here. His children didn't previously, but now they've come here and spent a little bit of time here, and apparently they really like it, that they just feel safe. He said that it feels like home to him. I mean, if you want to feel good, that little podcast press conference there, if you want a feel good thing, watch that, because it's just amazing. It's so heartwarming to hear that they brought somebody here who is really one of the better players in the game, and also from the sounds of it, he sounds like a pretty good human being as well. That's what people say about him, and he was and is willing to stay here, and he talks about doing some great things for the team, being able to do some great things for the city in the future, and it's just so exciting. So, excuse me just a second. Bison's booster. I read that performance escalators could bring total value to 141 million. Thank you very much for that. Yes. So apparently the way that works, I had that in my notes there. So something to do with his performance in 2025 and 2026. And I don't know whether that's innings pitched or whatever it is, but based on certain incentive levels, that the salary in the final 2 years of 2027 and 2028 could actually go from 24 million a year to as high as 29 million a year. So I mean, there's definitely money there. I mean, they didn't they didn't cheap out. They were willing to open the vaults and show him what we were able to do and willing to do for him. And it's just such a feel good story. And I really, really hope and believe that other people out there in baseball, free agents in particular, were watching and they were paying attention, because I mean, it's notorious. If you're a fan of the Toronto Blue Jays, you've heard the stories before that free agents, particularly those who are American, but Berrios is not American. He's from Puerto Rico, but still, if it's an American man and he's a free agent, you know what? He's got 29 teams that are based in the US that he can choose from. Why would he choose to come to the Toronto Blue Jays? Unfortunately, that has been the attitude that many free agents have taken in the past. They don't want to go outside the US and relocate to Canada and all of this. The cell phones don't work and this and this and this, yada, yada, yada. And I remember saying when George Springer signed the deal that he did, that I felt like it kind of added a layer of legitimacy to the Blue Jays. Not that they weren't legitimate previously, but just that it added that endorsement from one of the top players in the game that he was a free agent, and I'm sure he had multiple offers, and he chose the Toronto Blue Jays. And now another top player in the game who could have been a free agent in a year has chosen to stay with the Toronto Blue Jays. Hi again, Bison's Booster. Do you think the fact that Ray and Simeon not getting to play a full season in Toronto hurts chances to re-sign them? Really good question. It's kind of tough to say. I mean, again, they're each different people, obviously. It was very interesting to hear Berrios' comments that because when he was traded to the Jays, maybe luckily for him, he didn't have to play any of his home games in Dunedin or in Buffalo. No disrespect to the city of Buffalo. I've been there and it's very nice, but it's not truly a Toronto Blue Jays home game, I don't think. The crowd was pretty good most of the time. They were mostly pro Blue Jays, unless they were playing the Yankees or the Red Sox, and then it was a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, being in Toronto where this is the Blue Jays home and people who come out to see those games are there to see the Blue Jays and cheer the Blue Jays on, that Berrios felt that in those 2 months, he even said, because somebody asked him, that he really did feel that he got a good sense of the city of Toronto, of the fans, of the passion of the fans that did come out to the game. So I'm hoping that Robbie Ray and Marcus Simeon had a similar experience and felt it in that way. I mean, there were the 2 times that Simeon hit walk-off home runs in Toronto, and lucky me, I was at both those games. I really did get lucky with some of the games that I went to. Wonder if Montoyo being for Puerto Rico played a part in the Barrios decision. That is a very, very good point. You know what? You should be doing this podcast. Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing that it didn't hurt. I don't know to what extent that was a part of the yes, but at the very least, it had to have been one of the positives. I mean, when he talked about Toronto and enjoying the diversity of the city and all of that just the diversity on the Toronto Blue Jays itself. I mean, you've got Latin players, you've got players from the Dominican, you've got a manager who, like him, is from Puerto Rico, and you've got Hyunjin Ryu, who's from South Korea. You've got Americans, you've got Jordan Romano, who's Canadian. I mean, it's very diverse, and I love diversity, and I think Jose Berrios likes diversity and appreciates it. And yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping, fingers crossed for me. I mean, ideally, I would love to have both Robbie Ray and Marcus Simeon back. I would like to keep the majority of the 2021 team together, even though they didn't make the playoffs, because I think the team that they had at the end of the year was good enough to make the playoffs. Remember that they didn't have all those guys together for the whole season. I mean, Berrios, they only had for a couple of months. Manoa was called up late in May. And I mean, they had some guys that luckily they saw the need to cut ties with, between Tyler Chatwood, Rafael DeLeese, Brad Hand. Unfortunately, that was a very unfortunate trade there. And I mean, even Tanner Roark earlier in the season, if they had the team that they finished 2021 with together for the full season and playing 81 home games in Toronto, I don't have any doubt whatsoever that team would have made the playoffs. And that's why I'm saying I'm hoping to keep most of them together as much as they can for 2022 and see where this team can go. I think it's so exciting, the possibilities. I can't wait for 2022 to start. Knock on wood. I really hope that there's no work stoppage. I mean, they talk about maybe a lockout as of December the 2nd. And if that happens, I mean, there's no games anyway. So at least nobody will be missing any games. Spring trainings. Oh, absolutely. You're very welcome for answering the questions. Thank you so much for sending them in. As I said, hi, Steve. Bryce Harper, National League MVP. Good for him. And congratulations, Bryce Harper. So yeah, I mean, I'm so excited about the future of this team, and I hope we don't miss any games due to any sort of work stoppage. That they've got to get their act together after losing more than 100 games in 2020 because of COVID and having a season that, for me, thank goodness that there was a season at all. 60 games is better than 0 games, but I mean, I don't think anybody wants that. And I think these guys really need to get their act together, both sides, and just do whatever it takes and get a fair deal for both sides and no work stoppages and keep playing ball. Yeah, as far as circling back a bit to the 2 free agents, I'm a little more hopeful that Robbie Ray will come back. I mean, nobody really knows what's going to happen with the 2 of them. I just think back to last season. I mean, by this time last year, Robbie Ray had already re-signed with the Blue Jays after they traded for him in season. That he really didn't even test free agency. Let's face it, he didn't have the greatest of seasons in 2020. Wasn't very good. When the Jays picked him up, he got better, but he was still very inconsistent, particularly with the walks and all that. And I mean, it was early in November, and Robbie Ray signed the 1-year deal to come back to the Toronto Blue Jays. That tells me that he likes being a Toronto Blue Jay, that there is definite interest in being here. And I think if the Blue Jays can and do what I think they should, which is offer him a really good deal, I still feel good that he's going to take it, that he's going to end up back here. Marcus Semien, I mean, who knows? He's expressed interest in the Blue Jays. He also hired Scott Boras as his agent. And Scott Boras, for anybody who doesn't know about him, he is known for being a player agent that basically he gets the biggest contracts that he can for his players. So Marcus Semien, he's a smart person. He wouldn't have hired Boras to represent him unless he was looking for what Boras is known for, and that is getting himself the best deal that he can. So wherever that is, whether that's the Toronto Blue Jays, whether that's somewhere else. We know that his family lives on the West Coast, so there's certainly some interest in being on the West Coast, and maybe that's where he'll end up. I mean, if he ends up being just a 1-year Toronto Blue Jay, that'll be too bad. I mean, I'd still like to have him back, but I'll wish him well. He did some good things with his team, with his organization. I feel like he's had some lasting impressions, and in a way, I kind of think that that's what management was looking for more than anything else when they brought Marcus Semien on board a year ago, that he might kind of mentor some of the younger players, and it sounds like that is what he did. So excuse me just for a moment. Sure glad I have that water handy. Anyway, so it's almost the end of tonight's show, and that brings me to Through Blue Jay Colored Glasses. So, once again, sticking with the off season and the focus on looking forward and this Blue Jays team and what it means in the coming years. So wonderful, absolutely excited, over the moon to have Jose Berrios for at least the next 5 years and hopefully the full 7 years. I'm excited to see what he can do for this team, helping them both on and even off the field. Now, not to pour cold water on anybody's enthusiasm, because that's really not what I do hardly ever, but just a small caveat, gentle reminder that signing Jose Berrios in and of itself doesn't do anything to improve the 2022 Toronto Blue Jays, because it's not like he was a free agent and they went out and got him and added him. He was already under team control with the Toronto Blue Jays for 2022. So they still do have some holes to fill. I strongly believe that they're going to do it. I think the Blue Jays are going to be aggressive. They were aggressive a year ago. I think they're going to be just as aggressive, if not more so. I mean, Shapiro and Atkins have both come out and said so. And whether you like them or not, Tell me a time that they've said, okay, this is the direction that we're going in, and then they did something completely different. When those two guys say that this is what we're going to do, basically that's what they go out and do. So I look at the team that there is, and again, I'd love to have Marcus Semien back. I mean, they need to figure out what they're doing at second base. Kevin Biggio was basically displaced there a year ago when Marcus Semien was signed. So, knock on wood, if Kevin Biggio is healthy and Marcus Semien doesn't come back, he can go back to playing second base. He was above average there defensively, not necessarily Gold Glove caliber, but Kevin Biggio, when he's healthy, I think he does a lot of things to help a team win. I mean, he takes walks, he gets on base, his base running, he's so smart. He's a player that I've always really liked. So he might end up back on second base. Third base, they need to figure out what they're doing. Santiago Espinal, I think he's a good in-house option. They still might be looking at an upgrade, possibly via the trade market. There have been all kinds of rumors. Jose Ramirez from Cleveland, maybe Matt Chapman from the Oakland A's. And we'll see what happens. Personally, I think they are going to upgrade the position players. Even if they don't upgrade the position players, I think the guys they've got in-house, knock on wood, assuming that everybody stays healthy, I think they're good enough to win a championship. What the Toronto Blue Jays need to do is they need to upgrade their pitching, because as of right now, they've got two holes in the rotation. As of right now, Robbie Ray and Steven Matz are both free agents, and we don't know if either of them, let alone both, are coming back. So I'm really hoping for Robbie Ray. Maybe Matz at the right price. I mean, he was definitely, when he was good, he was quite good. He was just inconsistent. But I mean, having the two of them back would be just great. And if not, there are avenues, and I believe the Blue Jays will go out there and they will, if not bringing back the same guys, there will be quality replacements. And this team, I have very, very good feelings and expectations for this team in 2022. I see them most definitely getting to the playoffs and having a deep run into the playoffs. And I think it's going to happen one way or another. So Robbie Ray in particular, I really hope that you're giving these things some serious thoughts. And I hope that your choice is to be with the Toronto Blue Jays and be a part of that deep playoff run. I mean, they're going to do it. I have every faith that they're going to do it. So it's up to you. Do you want to be a part of it, or do you want to watch it from the outside? And on that note, that's all I've got for you tonight. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let's go Blue Jays. I'm going to go watch the AL MVP race, and I'll see you again in a couple weeks.